What's up, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of On the Bluff. I'm your host, Christian Fowler, and joining me, as always, my co-host, Gabe Kuhn, our producer, Kenny Stubblefield, and fellas, it's good to be back.
Welcome.
It has been a long time. It's been a long layoff for me, but I'm finally back. I know you boys held it down the last few weeks, but here we are, all back together finally.
Yeah, and I gotta love you. You sent us the Michael Jordan "I'm Back" press release.
Yeah.
Well
Whenever
done.
it came on, that was fun.
It
I
was
thought
well done. It was
I
well
thought that'd
done.
be funny. I
Yeah.
thought that'd be funny. Obviously, not on the same level, but it was funny.
For
Yeah.
us,
What you
it's
been
on,
up to, man?
for
Let the
us, it's
people
on the
know.
same level. For us, it's good. For us, you coming back is like Michael Jordan coming back.
Yeah, I'm sure. But yeah, a lot of work over the last couple of weeks, but here we are. We're back in the game. Fellas, how was the weekend? I haven't got to hear about y'all's weekend in like 3 weeks.
I don't know, man. It was all right. It was fine.
Sounds like I haven't been missing much.
You haven't missed a damn thing. Yeah, I mean, well, I know Kenny's been watching some volleyball lately. I have
Yeah.
not done shit. I have been at the house on my ass watching whatever sport's on. And now I got NBA playoffs and NHL playoffs. So Blues
Yeah,
are
you do.
rolling. So yeah, that's what I've been
Yeah.
doing.
We've
And
been
Kenny, you were no volleyball this weekend, right? You're done.
Yeah, we're done with volleyball for the season. We've got tryouts coming up for school ball in May, so we're getting some gym time in on working on that kind of stuff and getting Sailor ready for that. Been spending some time at Ghost River Brewing these last last week, man, doing some watch parties for
Yeah,
the
how were those last week? It was Tuesday and Friday, right?
They were. Let me tell you, this place, Ghost River Brewing, is like, it's one of the oldest, maybe one of the first brewing companies in the city of Memphis. Like, it's been around for a very long time. They have this
Where I don't know.
South Main and Crump.
Okay.
And so they have this one spot. They had this bar that's always been open, but then they built out this brand new area. So it's like there's a really nice bar. Then there's this really nice turf area with these monster TVs out there. I'm talking like just crazy. And then a really nice bar on the other side with the food and the kitchen's open, all that kind of stuff. Man, it is so much fun. Bob over there, the owner of Ghost River Brewing, is a blast. That dude is legit. And so we've been doing some watch parties over there. Had a great time. Honestly,
how were the turnouts? Solid.
Tuesday night was a really good turnout. Surprisingly so. The game didn't start till 9:00. But Tuesday night was really, really good. We had people there from all the way to the end of the game. They lost that game to the Warriors that night. Then on Friday night, the Grizzlies were back in town. So we had less people there, but it was a lot of fun. We were outside in that little courtyard area. Man, had a great time. Me and Rusty
outside Friday night.
Yeah, it felt so good. Me and Rusty Buckets did some live pregame stuff from there, and it was a blast, man. Had a really good time. Then obviously did the Easter thing this weekend. So
yeah. Oh, y'all would be proud of me. My Friday night was super Memphis. We went to me and Anna Ruth and our family. I think we've talked about it before, but her dad is a huge baseball guy. So we went to and they're big Cardinals fans. So we went to the the Redbirds game Friday afternoon. We went to the Redbirds game, and then we left directly from the Redbirds game and walked to Rendezvous and ate Rendezvous. So I had a super Memphis Friday night.
Why do people hate on Rendezvous, by the way? What's the hate for?
Okay, I will say so her family has a tradition where they go every Thanksgiving. Or around Thanksgiving when all the families in town, like they go to Rendezvous. I went when we first started dating, like we've been dating for like 2 weeks, went with them to Rendezvous. It was terrible. Like the ribs were so tough, dude. It was bad. Like we all left and everybody was kind of playing chicken and like didn't want to say it, but we were all like, that was not great. But I will say, to their credit, Friday night, it was fire. Like it was great. The rib,
I'm not a dry rib guy.
Brisket were. I'm a dry rib guy. I'm not a big barbecue sauce guy. Ribs were great. Brisket was fire. Like it was great.
I like my ribs wet and sloppy. That's how I like my ribs.
I'm not. I like.
I need my hands to be caked in sauce.
That ain't
to where
me.
Like I can't even wash my hands without getting it. Like I gotta wash my hands with like Dawn dishwasher
like 3 times
to get it off. That's what I need, brother. That's that good stuff right there. But I will say, man, it's been so hated on by Memphis folks that I think it's properly rated at this point.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say it's underrated, but I think it's properly rated.
Yeah, I
It
do
was
too.
overrated for a while, but people hated on it so much and called it overrated that I think it's gone to properly rated.
I agree. I mean, it was solid.
Like my family, when they come in town, they cannot, like, they have to go to Rendezvous.
Yeah. And another thing I'll say, it was fast, dude. Like, quick, really quick. I mean, we were there for like an hour and 15 minutes, maybe. Like, it was.
Yeah.
They had us in and out of there, so no complaints. My Rendezvous trip on Friday night was way, way better than the last time. Then we had the Wing Fest on Saturday. You guys know we do that every year.
Yeah.
Another win.
There you go.
3 in a row.
Shout out
for the win. So that was a lot of fun. But it's yeah, we did what Mahomes. The whole the storyline for my dad going in was we're gonna do what Mahomes can't. We're gonna 3-peat.
Dude, that's impressive stuff, man.
Yeah,
him and the Bulls.
That's
the 90s Bulls.
I was like, that's a crazy analogy, but okay.
Your dad's a wild dude, man.
It was a lot of fun. It got rescheduled a couple weeks because of the rain, the really bad rain that we had a couple weeks ago. So it got rescheduled, but turnout was still good. It was a lot of fun. Enjoyed ourselves. Worked our butts off. We were out there for like 7-8 hours. And then we did crawfish that night. So it was Saturday was I want to say since I've
you had like if I was gonna point out like a upper middle class Southern weekend, that's what you did this weekend.
Yeah.
Good Lord, you ended it all with crawfish. Then you had Easter Sunday.
Yep.
Went to church, had a nice meal, I'm sure, with the family.
Yep. You are. No, that's.
I love how Easter, by the way, fell on 420 too. That's kind of fun.
Yeah.
That's interesting to me.
It is kind of fun. I can't recall in my lifetime that happening. Usually it's not that late, but yeah.
Well, just know if the family members before you actually have your like dinner, if they leave and go for a walk,
and they come back like this, like
food ready and then they eat like 4 plates following that. Yeah, they have enjoyed their holiday.
But say they might have celebrated 2 holidays today.
Yes. We did a pregame show for the Grizzlies, and Anthony Sane was on there, and he said, I'm trying to find out who's going to be the most high, Jesus or me today. So good.
Yeah.
Good.
And I bet it was him.
I bet it was him. Most likely.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, Gabe, you nailed that one. Yeah, it was a pretty solid weekend. A lot of food, a lot of stuff going on. But yeah, it was good. It's good to be back. Like I said, that was probably either the second or third crawfish boil that I've done since I last saw you guys. Pretty much happens every weekend.
Yes, we've noticed, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
You don't even have to tell us. We just assume that you're having crawfish.
Yeah, and now especially like since I've laid this out for you guys, but I don't know if I've said it on the podcast before. So when I moved out of my parents' house, people can hate on that all they want to, but you save up a lot of money that way. So when my parents sold their house, I moved in with a friend of mine. They have like 20 or 30 acres. His parents built a barn dominium, and then they built like their main house. So me and him live in the barn dominium. His dad lives in the main house, and they're the ones that always do crawfish. So now that I live here, it's like worse because it's like, well, one of our friends like already lives here, so like of course we can get 6, 7, 8 other people here, and it'll be fine. So it's been a little bit exacerbated with me living here with them now as well. But yeah, it's great.
Yeah, and no one should give you shit for living at your parents' house as long as you need to be honest with you. In this day and age, you seen the damn market?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Why would I?
You can't buy anything. And the interest rates are, last time I checked, 6.8%.
Yeah.
Unless you got family money, it's not even realistic.
Yeah, and I ain't got it like that.
You'd have to save a hell of a lot and have a amazing job.
Yeah.
And have if you have a student debt, you're cooked.
Yeah. Luckily, luckily don't have any of that. But no, I'm
But
out of
just
the
know,
house now. So
just
for any of the
know,
haters,
I'll have
any
your
of the
back.
haters,
If anyone ever gave you shit for living in your parents' house
you
at
know
your
what's
age,
funny? You know what's
it's
funny,
fine.
and we'll get started here in a minute because I know we're going a little bit long on this. But you know what's funny is like no one's ever given me any kind of crap about that. I think it's just one of those defensive things that you throw
Oh,
up when you
yeah.
say it. That you're
Yeah,
like,
I get you.
yeah, I
Okay.
mean, I lived with my parents for a long time, but it's not that big of a deal, guys. It's kind of like you got to throw that guard up in the beginning and be like, don't hate on
I
it.
mean, unless you're in the basement making like peanut butter sculptures, I think you're all good, dude.
Yeah,
Like I'm not gonna judge you.
that was a great bench warmers reference right there.
Yes, of
That
course.
was a
People
great bench.
recognize that.
Yeah, I love
Hell
that.
yeah.
All right, well, boys, let's jump in
Y'all
it.
are crazy, man.
We've got a lot of outside news to talk about towards the end of the show. When we get to the hot three, everything's kind of getting hot and heavy right now. Like Gabe said at the top of the show, NBA playoffs. Grizzlies are in the playoffs. We're officially in one of my favorite weeks of the entire year, which is the NFL Draft Week. So we do have a lot of national news to cover in the hot three, but we also have some University of Memphis related news to get to first, and I think we're going to start with a pretty big one in the departure of PJ Haggerty. This was one of those situations that we've been talking about for a few weeks, and we kind of said the roster building moving into next year, everything's kind of on hold and kind of paused until we see what PJ does. And a lot of our conversation really centered around, is he going to try to go into the draft, or is he going to come back to Memphis? I feel like a lot of people tried to avoid the transfer portal conversation, which is fair because you feel like if you say it out loud, then you've spoken it into existence. But unfortunately for the University of Memphis, for Memphis fans, PJ Haggerty has officially entered the portal, and we kind of see where the staff and Penny Hardaway are shifting and going towards, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. I think they're doing a great job so far. But what do we think about this news? And Memphis's All-American will not be back next year.
It sucks. It sucks, but you have to own the lane you're in if you're the University of Memphis. And in this particular lane, you can't afford the asking price. You can't afford to pay him $3.5–4 million. Unless you did some severe asks to a bunch of donors, and hopefully they'd be willing to come off of that money. But I think the more realistic thing that I talked about on this podcast for the past, 3-4 weeks was the most realistic offer. And Kenny will remember this from last week or 2 weeks ago. It was $2.5 million and a hug and some love. That's what they could do. All these other schools out there, Alabama, Baylor, Ole Miss, they can offer somewhere between 3 and 4 million. Memphis can't do that. It's just it's a changing of the calculations when it comes to how well Memphis and their NIL department is funding this program compared to the Power Four. You have the revenue sharing coming up. You have all these different things coming up. They can be competitive. They can be the top of the AAC, but striving for more is just very difficult. And I think this was just one of those things where, PJ, we love you. We want you to be on this roster, but we can't offer you what they're offering you. We have to try to bridge the gap with something else. And that's, you get to play for Penny Hardaway. You get to stay here in the same system. You have some, people in the city love you. That's what you have to bridge the gap with. And given that those things you can't calculate those things and put them into a checkings account.
And they're less meaningful than they used to be.
Yeah, therein lies the problem. You just, the one thing about this thing that's so frustrating is when you have problems that you're faced with, you look for solutions. And there's no easy solution to this. The real solution for Memphis would be get into a bigger conference, get more TV revenue, get more money, get more eyeballs, get more people following the program. They would donate, but that's not on the table for them right this second. So that's the tough part of this whole thing.
What's weird about it to me is the timing, right? Like if the asking price is real, Jeff Goodman put it out this week, $4 million in a point guard role for his team that he wants to transfer to. If the $4 million is a real offer, which if that's what he's asking for, insanity, right? Like insane. Right. It's the timing of when he decided to come out a week before the transfer portal window closed, when teams have been steadily in the transfer portal, signing players, taking up some of their budget. A $4 million guy is somebody that you build around. You don't bring in at the last minute. And that's the part that confuses me. Is one of the things that we talked about for the last couple of months or the last month is that, with the way PJ handled the transfer portal last year, with the way that he was in and then out, like made his decision quickly, it made me feel like this one is like that he's handling this one the same way. And so the fact that he hasn't gotten in yet tells me something. So that's why this whole thing has been confusing to me, in that he's in now, which more power to him, man. Go take your visits, go do your thing, go where you want to go. It's more so if that's the asking price, like what teams that he legitimately is being like talked about has $4 million to spend on a guy like that right now.
Plenty of them.
I will say this. I think there's more than you think.
Really? I don't know.
I think a team that I'm going to point out you'll really understand. Think about a team like Baylor. They lost their entire roster to either graduation, NBA draft, or transfer portal.
Yeah.
And they have to reload. And what do they like? They like guards. They're really good with guards. And here's the thing. As you get later in the transfer portal, yes, there are less landing spots, Kenny. But you know what tends to be driven up at this point in the portal? Demand and price. Because people are desperate. People are desperate. So I think that's a way to
much quality.
Right, but that's the way to explain around like why he got in, when he did. And, you may have questions about like, is there any spots at some of these premier programs? Well, some of them are gone. Yes. But the ones that are there are going to be willing to pay a premium because they have not filled that spot yet. And they need to fill that spot. They need a bucket getter. They need to be competitive. So that's where, hey, I'm asking for $4 million. Let's see if we can make that happen. A team like Baylor comes along. They're like, we have no one signed. We have 2 guys on a roster right now.
Yeah.
And we need somebody who can at least keep us afloat. Here's that bag.
Well, and I think another explanation for that too is it's just like with Nico Iamaleava. Like you think you're fine, and maybe this is all hypothetical, by the way, but like let's say that they had their deal in place, whatever, PJ Haggerty in Memphis, and he felt comfortable with it, felt fine with it, and then other numbers started coming out, and you start seeing, well, this guy,
right,
who's similar.
JT Toppin made $4 million,
right, at Texas Tech, who was also a second-team All-American. Like things like this come out, and you start seeing other guys' price tags, and you go, wait a second, we're on the same caliber, or possibly I'm even better than this player, at least in my mind, or maybe on paper, however you want to view it. And then it's like, well, I'm shorting myself right now. Like I'm not going to the draft right now. I know that's not a realistic option right now. So I'm going to get it when I can. And I don't think, especially with a player like PJ, with Nico, and we're not going to have that conversation as drawn out tonight. Me and Gabe did it. So if you want to go check the archives from his show last
929ESPN.com, click the podcast, Gabe Kuhn Show.
Yeah, you can hear all of our thoughts about it. But a player like Nico, like his NFL prospects are very high. Like he could potentially be a first-round pick. PJ Haggerty doesn't have that ceiling. So I think it is much more palatable for him because you say, like, he could be a guy, maybe he's a second-round pick, maybe he's an undrafted guy, maybe he sticks around. But overseas is the most likely outcome. And he's never going to get a chance probably to make that $4 million in a year again. So it's like, it sucks if you're a Memphis fan, if you're a follower of the program, like it sucks to lose that guy. But a player like him, like this is his opportunity potentially to get that bag. Even if he was making $1.5 million, $2 million, $2.5 million, whatever at Memphis last year, if he can go make $1.5 million more and get the biggest payday that he potentially will get the rest of his life, like you kind of gotta respect the hustle a little bit.
Right. Here's what I think the general fan needs to grasp too. And I think Gary Parrish used the perfect word for this when he tweeted about the PJ Haggerty situation not too long ago. I think it was last week. He basically said, if he doesn't go somewhere else and get $1.5 to $2 million richer per year, that would be an irresponsible decision on his behalf. It truly would.
It would be.
You're not going to make those dollars back. You're not making that money back if you pass up on it now, unless you somehow got, worked your ass off in the NBA, got to a second contract, got off a 2-way, did all that stuff. But this could be the biggest pay year salary of his life. and you have to take advantage of that when it comes to you. Now, Kenny, I wanted to run this by you because you know more of the valuations, and I'm sure, like Christian, I'm not saying you don't know. You've probably used context clues to figure this out. PJ's not getting he ain't getting 4 million. I feel pretty confident. I think he'll be somewhere between 3 and 4, but 4 million, correct me if I'm wrong, that's reserved for most good solid programs. That's reserved for wings and bigs, right?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, you look at JT Toppin and you go, as a big, valuations for bigs in the transfer portal are much higher.
Probably, yes, because they're harder to find.
Maybe like almost over half of what guards are making, right? Like you look at a guy like God, I'm thinking of the name. I can't remember the name.
I remember Great Osibor last year, Coleman Hawkins.
Right.
Like those guys were getting some of the biggest deals in NIL, and look at where the teams are at. But like at the same time, those guys got massive NIL deals because they're 7 foot and 6'10", and they, are decent players.
Yeah.
Which brings me around to the second conversation we need to have today. Dain Dainja. I want to get to Dain Dainja. Now he's not in the portal. That was completely bungled. Him and his agency have parted ways. Apparently, and I don't know if this is the full truth, but there's been certain reporting behind the scenes that he told his agents to say he was in the portal, but he wasn't actually in the portal. But either way, he doesn't have the same agents anymore. He's trying to get another year of eligibility, and he could potentially come back to the University of Memphis, and that would be an unbelievable get if they're able to make that happen. Now, again, he's got to get that extra year of eligibility. But I asked this question, Kenny and Christian. Let's say, Dain sticks by his word because his mom talked with Jason Munns and says, we're loyal. We want to do right by we want to do right by the people that have done right by us and do all that. But considering Dain was a 14-8 guy on this Memphis team, and he didn't even start the first part of the year, and you saw how damn good he was. If he gets another year of eligibility, can you imagine the salary he could potentially get next year?
Yep.
He may be up there around PJ. He may exceed PJ if he were to take those offers. So I was thinking about this. If we can talk about loyalty all we want, and his mom, I respect that Dain and his mom have that in their heart. I really fully respect it. But if he gets that extra year and someone floats a $3 million check in front of their face, are you going to feel the same way? That's the question I have. But I found this whole situation so convoluted and mind-boggling and confusing. It's tough. It's tough to follow.
Yeah, I mean, it's mind-boggling and confusing, but it's not surprising. Like, we are really starting to see this stuff rear its teeth. Like, that's what's happening right now. And I don't want to speculate too much on what happened or what could have happened behind the scenes or anything, but like, we're really starting to see some stuff where you kind of raise your eyebrows and go, what's actually happening?
Right.
Was this a negotiation tactic? Was it actually miscommunicated? Like, what was actually going on? So and it's just going to get worse until more regulations are put in place. But I agree with you, Gabe. Like someone like Dain, who, like you said, was extremely dominant at times last year, had games where if PJ wasn't playing well, or some of the games where Tyrese missed, like Dain was dominant. Like he looked like one of the better bigs in the country.
I don't think it's crazy to say he was, down the stretch of the season, the best back to the basket scoring big in the country. And I know that's very specific, but I did not see a single other big with the repertoire of moves on the low post that he had. I really didn't. I don't know if I'm being overzealous by saying that, or if I'm going overboard. I don't think I am. I watched a lot of college basketball, and I don't think there was another big who had the same footwork, movement in the block, movement in the post, finishing ability. I just didn't see it. If it was there, correct me, but I didn't see it.
Yeah, and then like you said, just with supply and demand of that position and what he can do and what he's capable of night in and night out, like he can truly be a double-double machine. Like he can be a 16 and 10 guy, no doubt. What does that look like? Because there are a lot of teams in the country, even if they've started filling out their roster and making additions and stuff, they probably don't have somebody like that. And a lot of those teams are, in most situations, point guards taken care of, and they could be a big away from being a championship contender. And it's like, well, what do those offers look like? Because if he is able to get his waiver and get another year, there ain't no doubt in anybody's mind that people are coming after him. Like, he is getting the backdoor phone calls, tampering, whatever you want to call it. Like, his phone is going to be blowing up if he gets that waiver and he gets another year. And it becomes the same conversation as PJ is like, how do you combat that? Because Dain's probably not a guy that sticks around in the NBA. Also, could he, like PJ?
You combat that with $2 million and a hug, obviously, right. Christian.
Yeah. How do you do that? Like, how do you tell somebody, once again, same thing as PJ, if this dude can go make $3.5 million, or in PJ's case, play 2 more years and make $7 or $8 million, like, how do you fault them? Even if you want the loyalty to be there, even if you want the consistency to be there, like, I feel like so many people lack perspective in this situation.
Yes.
So many people just are like this, and I get it. It's fandom. It's what it does to you. But if I put myself in this situation, and I know, like, I'm not a pro, like, I've got my college years, and then it's off to work. Like, I might bounce around overseas or something like that, but then it's like 27, 28 years old, like, real world, get to work. And you tell me, hey, when you in this journey of basketball, football, whatever, and you've got to start your career and start your life, would you rather start it with $4 million or $8 million? Would you already rather have $8 million floating around in the stock market, investing it here and there to give you like a head start on life? It's a pretty easy choice.
$1 million out of $1 million.
And I'm a loyal
making the same
dude.
decision.
Like, I'm a loyal dude. Like, that's been ingrained in me. But if you tell me I can get an $8 million jump start on my life as a very young adult, as a 25 to 30-year-old young adult, yeah.
I'll say this. This is my take on the whole thing. Shout out to the mom for what she said to Jason Munn. Shout out to Dain's mom. It was awesome. And honestly, she knows her listeners very well, because that kind of stuff resonates with Memphians.
Memphis fans get fucking fired up hearing that.
Well, they're like, Dain ain't going nowhere.
Especially with PJ leaving, they were like, they're ready to run through a wall for Dain.
Give him $250K, he'll stay. It don't matter.
I put zero weight behind that conversation. Like, none.
Because what else is involved? What else is involved in this that we're not talking about nearly enough? Agents.
Yep.
And what do they get?
Well, not anymore. Apparently, they're gone.
He fired us. He'll get another one.
He'll get another one.
Or they fired him. I don't know. Either one.
But he'll get another one. And what do agents get? A percentage.
Yeah.
So, once again, put perspective in that. If you are an agent and you don't have a big repertoire, like a lot of these agents don't, they don't have a lot of clients. It's pretty specialized because they're getting them from all over the place. And it's like, man, this is my biggest client. This might be my chance at a payday. I can put my name on
these
the map.
dudes are taking 10 to 20%, brother.
Yeah. Bro, this same guy, this Noah Rosenfeld or whatever his name is that represented Dain,
that is the most agent name of all.
It is the most agent name.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
But it is
Noah Rosenfeld.
All right, editing that out.
Oh God, yes.
But
that is dead on.
But that is
from
the
Rosenfeld
guy.
agency.
That's the same dude. That is the same dude that came out in an interview and said that NIL agents take 20% on the regular. That is the norm for NIL agents to take 20% of their players' contracts because of the way. And he tried to compare it to NFL agents that take 3%, 4%.
And just so we're clear,
4%.
That means let's just estimate a Dain Dainja contract around $2 million. It probably could be more depending on where he went. That means that Rosenfeld would be taking $400,000 out of Dain Dainja's pocket.
Screw these agents are clowns.
That's bullshit,
bro. It's bullshit.
That
it's
is
bullshit.
legitimate. That's predatory behavior.
It's predatory.
Which is, I know we talked about this at length again last week. Go to 929ESPN.com. It's a Tuesday show. Me and Christian talked about it. But that's where the NCAA or another entity has to get these guys like all certified. I know there's an NCAA certification, but there's no reason to actually get it because we all three could start an agency right now. Yeah. They need to have oversight of the agency community in the biggest way, because if you're really here to like protect student athletes, you are doing the worst job you've done ever. With these agencies, because this is the most they've been preyed upon really in their entire lives. Obviously, when they weren't making money, sure, yes, they were getting preyed upon.
Yeah, but there was no
now that they're making money
under the table handshakes.
Yeah, now that they're making money above board, giving 20% of that away, that's insanity. Even 10% is crazy to me, man. They should be certified. They should have to pass a test every year. They should go to seminars. They should have some type of degree. And then they should have to pay a fee every year to be able to be an agent. And we need to limit the percentage to, I don't know. Let's just start at 5%. It's not the pros. 5 to 7%. Because 10 and 20 is like, guys, I can't even begin to wrap my head around. I had an NFL agent, and he would take, for his like clients that he really thought were going to be like first round picks and all that, he'd take 1.5%. And it would be like ongoing down who he believes in the most, 2%, 2.5%, 3%. I was a 3% guy. You know what I mean? Like the guys that he believes in the least, he takes 3%. That's supposed to be their big potential, low risk, high reward. That's 3%. Right. These guys are getting 10 at the least, 20 in most cases.
Yeah.
We can sit here and complain about NIL all we want. And say there needs to be regulation around it. That is the area of NIL that has to have the regulation 100%. More so than anything else. Yes. More so than because you're getting into like collective bargaining stuff. You're getting into all the unionizations and all that kind of stuff.
Well, there's only one way this can be: CBA and employee-employer. It's the only way it can be. I don't know when it's going to happen, but that's the antitrust exemptions and all this other legal mumbo jumbo they're talking about. I'm sorry. You have to have them employees. They have to have a CBA. They have to have a union. There's no other way to
protect them. You have to protect them. At the end of the day, like you have to protect them. Boys, we want to talk. Additions, or we're going to go straight to the hot three. What do we?
Yeah, let's do additions real quick. Let's do some additions real quick.
Let's talk about a couple of additions. Sincere Parker from McNeese State on board now. Zachary Davis, South Carolina. Penny is loading up on guards once again. It's kind of what he did last year, and going back to the well. How do we feel about some of these latest commitments for Memphis basketball?
I feel really good about the actual commits. I feel almost better about the guys that have taken visits that may commit soon, because they have Aaron Bradshaw, 7'1", former 5-star from Ohio State. He's been crystal balled by multiple different sources to Memphis. Doug McDaniel, who they were involved with very heavily when he was transferring from Michigan. Of course, he went to Kansas State last year. But I think there was some things going wrong there. Tyrese Hunter came in. Doug realized, okay, I have a better opportunity at Kansas State to play, so let me go there. But they've always been in constant communication. But Zachary Davis, I like him, has sort of a big jumbo attacking the basket, slashing, athletic, rim running wing, and he can defend on the perimeter pretty well, and he can be switchable. You get optionality on the defense with him. Sincere Parker, I like him as a guy who can replace, I don't know, a half to 2/3 of the production PJ Haggerty is leaving behind as a scorer.
Yeah.
Like I really think he's got that upside. He averaged 17 points per game in the A-10 at SLU 2 years ago.
Yep.
And then 14.5 on a very talented McNeese State team. Now he is interesting because he shot 42% at SLU, like 29 or 28 at McNeese. I think he's a better shooter than what he looked like this year at McNeese, but still filled it up at a high level. Here's the question I want to ask both of you guys. Let's operate with the PJ Haggerty thing in mind, right? You have PJ Haggerty on one side, or you have, for the same amount of money, Sincere Parker, Zachary Davis, Aaron Bradshaw, Doug McDaniel on the other. What's what, or maybe a little bit more money, but let's just operate same amount of money. Which side are you picking? What are you picking?
It's difficult to say, especially because of what we saw PJ do this year.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, like there was that constant scared feeling almost this year of that if one player goes down, this team is shot.
And
And
it
I'm not
had
saying
to.
I'm not yeah, it did. And I'm not saying I want to go back to seeing 11, 12 man rotations. That's not what
Sure.
I'm saying. But like for your second rotation to be for there to be little drop off in your rotations, you feel very good at. Quality over quantity. I mean, you can have that conversation a million times over and you'll see how it plays out. But to have multiple guys that can make up for that production and more, and obviously do different things because it's more than one player. You got people that bring size with Zachary Davis. You got different skill sets with these different players. And we obviously none of only half of these people have committed, so it's not all set in stone. It's nothing like that. But you just start to flesh it out and say, okay, if they have this and they have that and they have all these different dynamics, then yeah, you probably trade that for it because we knew Tyrese, PJ, Dain, any of those guys go down, it's going to be rough. And we saw some shakiness when Tyrese Hunter got hurt. And we saw games when PJ Haggerty did not play well, that there was a lot of shakiness because there weren't other players to make up for those losses. Like it was those three guys and nobody else. If you're 8 or 9 deep with little fall off, that's what the best teams in the country have. So it's not apples to apples. It's a difficult comparison to make.
Right.
But
and I'm not asking you to answer it a certain way. I just want a realistic opinion. Like
yeah, no, I mean, I think so. I think if you have more players that do different things and you don't have to worry about, okay, this guy twisted his ankle because it's almost an inevitability in basketball that somebody's going to miss a couple of weeks, that we don't feel like we're drowning if we lose a player or if someone gets injured in the preseason, they have to miss that pivotal point in the non-conference schedule, that you don't feel like, okay, we're going to lose all these games and every bit of hope is shot. Like say Tyrese or PJ would have gotten hurt in preseason last year. Memphis would have never made it to the tournament. Like there never would have been what that team turned into. So yeah, it's a hard comparison to make because we haven't seen it in live action. We can't compare. This is what it looked like this way. This is what it looks like that way. But as much as it hurts to say, because I love PJ as a player, one player versus one All-American player versus 4 really, really talented players that could potentially be all conference type players at their ceilings. It's hard not to say that you take the quality.
We might have another commit over here.
Yeah, I hear him.
Over here.
We have to.
Myers. We're gonna do a first showing. Come on,
let's go.
Come here, Bubba.
Hey,
come on,
big dog.
Tell the guys what's up.
Look at that big man.
Say hello.
Hey, man.
Say hello.
Buddy.
He's like, a smile or something.
He's like,
do I have to tickle you?
He's like, Dad, I'm ready for my 3-point stand. I'm ready for my.
Oh,
my
do you see this? He's got his football PJs on.
Look,
yeah, that's
gorgeous.
Yes.
All right, now can you get back to the question?
Yeah, I think for answer. How you doing, Taylor? I think for me, I would love to cover a team that could say both and right. Like I would love to have both, right? Like PJ Haggerty.
That's a great point.
And those other guys,
Not
right?
bad.
Like the fact that we have to make this choice.
I get it, but
it's tough, but it's the reality of the situation. So yes, I agree with what I think everything Christian said is on point. Being able to have that depth, being able to have, guys that you can trust, even if one goes down. The problem is that we've also been discussing how continuity is so important to Penny Hardaway, right? Like continuity of roster, continuity of the bench, continuity of his staff. And so there's a part of me that says, God, the continuity of having a freaking All-American for 2 years in a row would be freaking awesome, right? But at the same time, I cannot argue with anything Christian said about just being able to say, like, what happens if this happens, if Tyrese goes down in the conference tournament, man, what are they going to do in the first round of the NCAA tournament? Because they were better than that Colorado State team. They should have beat them, but they didn't have the depth after Tyrese and Dante went down. But I would just love to be able to say, can we have both? Like, can we have PJ and those other guys?
And here's another reality. And it's tough to hear this for a lot of people, but schools in Memphis's sort of area all fit this criteria when it comes to their NIL and their budget and donors. Like PJ's money isn't directly being spent on those guys. That's part of a different pool. Yeah. Like PJ's like that's outsourced money for the most part. When you bring in one player like that, that's outsourced.
That's outsourced 100%.
So it's like the money that was going to be spent on PJ, just like it's longer. Gone. It doesn't exist anymore. That's what sucks.
That sucks
because those are not reallocatable funds.
No, that was big donor saying,
I'm trying not.
These are for PJ.
Yeah.
If he doesn't come back, these are going back into my bank account. That's how that works.
And that's the answer to my question earlier about what teams could afford PJ right now. Because these other teams have those dudes they can literally call right now and just be like, "Hey, bro, cut me a 2 and get one of your buddies to cut me a 2 and let's get this dude in.
And we're good to roll.
We're good to roll. And it's just making phone calls. And unfortunately, Memphis doesn't do that. They don't have. I think. Oh man, y'all about to get me going crazy.
No.
I think they have the people. They don't ask the people.
I also
ask them.
I'll say this though too, Kenny. To be fair, I don't think those people want to invest in something that they don't necessarily know about, unless it's like some big name recruit from outside the program.
1,000%.
Like, I don't know. Like, those people are not going to take a guy who has not played in a Memphis uniform and give him $2 million.
No, right. I wouldn't either.
Whereas around the country, they'll do that. But if he stays at Memphis for another year,
then they'll
cut that check.
Easy.
That's good for our city. That's good for our culture. We have a face of the program. Yep. I can feel like the return on investment's going to be there, blah, 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 blah. But when you have a new face, they're less willing to be able to come off of that money.
But Gabe, if you don't ask them,
I get it.
How can you ever know? Ask them.
I get the sense they ask more. I get what you're saying. Because I think, yes, the worst you can hear is no. But the problem is, I bet they've asked plenty in the past to a lot of no's. and they're tired of hearing it. They just sort of know the answer before they even present it to said person.
Go find a new job.
I get it.
Go find a new job. If you can't handle hearing no, find a new job.
All right, let's move. Let's move on before Kenny blows up. All right, we're going to take a quick break. And like I said at the top of the show, when we get back, we will be back with NFL Draft, NBA Playoffs, Grizzly Talk in the Hot 3.
People talk about this team needs vets, right? They need adults out there and all these type of things. I get that in theory, but when it comes down to like time to win a basketball game, 4 of those spots you're talking about are probably already accounted for. Those vets you're talking about, where are they playing? Is that 5th player one of these vets we're gonna go get? Because people saying they need some vets. They just get rid of all those dudes, right? Just redo the whole bench, whatever you gotta do. At the end of the day, man, I think the conversation has to be: are the guys that we know are gonna be on the court, are those guys good enough? Because it's like everybody's like, oh, get these guys some help, get them some help. Like, bro, there's only 5 dudes gonna be on the court, and when it comes down to winning time, those dudes going to be playing 35, 40 minutes a game like they did the other night, right?
Right.
If you want to question if those guys are good enough or if those 3 make sense, I will have that conversation with you.
Tune in to The Anthony Sane Show, Wednesdays and Fridays at 12 p.m. weekly on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
Does this say more about the Grizzlies, or does it say more about the Thunder?
Yes. I don't think you lose by 51 without both sides playing a part.
I agree.
It was really fun. We were on the other side of this, the 51-point win against Golden State in the regular season.
Yes.
And it was a ton of fun, and I took my victory lap. But at the same time, I said, you do not win by 51 based on your efforts alone. Kind of tongue-in-cheek after we won the game against Dallas, said, buckle up, we play in less than 48 hours.
Real soon.
And we're playing a literal buzzsaw.
With a week off.
The only thing you could hope for was that they may be rusty. Now listen, a buzzsaw.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to talk about playoff scars. There's going to be literal scars by the end of this 4-game series.
Dude.
Like, we're going to have cuts that need stitches.
It was gross.
Tune into The Daily Grind with your host, Luke Hatmaker, every Monday through Friday at 7:30 a.m. live on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
Hey, I'm back. Hey, by the way, I just want to let y'all know, I am now the most high. So I've calmed down. During the break. I am now the most high.
I was glad to get you going a little bit, man.
I'm good. I'm back.
Oh.
I'm good now. Woo! Got me fired up, man. I have this little brush that I use to clean my lenses off of my camera, and I was just throwing it. I was just like,
There was spit on it. There was spit on it.
Yeah.
Sweat when you were
Well,
dripping profusely with sweat.
Oh man. Hey, let's get to some national stuff, man. Let's get to the hot three. You guys ready?
Yes, sir.
I hit the wrong button. There we go. Hot three. Let's go. We're gonna start here. We're gonna go. It's not national, but we're gonna go NBA playoffs first. Grizzlies. Woo! Well, they played a game against Oklahoma City Thunder, and they lost 131-80. Guys, what the hell? That's all I got. What the
Worst game one NBA playoff loss in the history of the National Basketball Association.
Yep.
Desmond Bain was a minus 51. That
They
is
lost
the
by
worst
51.
plus minus in a playoff game in the history of the
insanity.
National Basketball Association. Jaren Jackson had 4 points, 3 rebounds. Dez had 9. Ja had 17, but was on 6 for 17 shooting. He got nothing out of the bench. I knew it would be a lopsided series. I don't expect them to win. I hope they can win one game. But I got to be honest with you guys. I had other things going on Sunday. Calling family, Easter stuff. And I finally checked my phone in the third quarter, and it was 101-51. And I don't know if this is wrong, but my reaction was, yeah. Like,
Yeah.
it makes sense. Obviously, I didn't expect them to lose by that much, but I look at the Thunder and I look at the Grizzlies, and the rosters are just not even remotely comparable in regards to talent from top to bottom. And I think we get it wrong a lot of the time with the Thunder. SGA is an MVP. Sure, he's going to be the MVP. Jalen Williams is an all-star. Awesome. Chet Holmgren, he's got so much freaking talent. He's still super young. But where they really thrive is their middle-tier players.
Lou
Dort,
Hartenstein.
Aaron Wiggins, Isaiah Hartenstein, Kaysen Wallace,
Yeah.
Isaiah Joe. Oh my God! Just keep like in garbage time. You have Kenrick Williams in there. That's a certified solid bench player, 7th guy in your rotation on most NBA teams, and he is only garbage time for them. I remember Marcus Morris said it a couple weeks ago. He doesn't believe in the Thunder because they're not deep enough.
Yeah, okay.
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I can give some credence to people that say they're too young, they don't know what they don't know in the playoffs, they need more scars. Cool. But this team has every single piece to be a champion of the NBA, and they showed it to the Grizzlies immediately as the game tipped off.
Yeah, I wish I could have called you Sunday night and you hadn't watched the game, hadn't looked at the score, and I led the conversation with Gabe. Marvin Bagley had 17 points and was 8 of 8 and SGA I think he had like 15 points, and he was like 4 of 13 from the floor. And your immediate reaction would have been either the Grizzlies found a way to win this game,
or they got beat by 51
in Oklahoma City, or they at least kept it close.
I don't know.
And
You're that garbage time guy.
It's a pretty crazy thing to think about. But yeah, it was rough. It was the best team in the NBA against a team that just fired their coach, been playing with a lot of injuries this year, and have not been going well at all since the All-Star break. But I'm kind of with Gabe. Like, I don't really want to sit here and like wallow in what's next and what the offseason looks like. I kind of just want to praise the Thunder, because 68 wins in the regular season. They were kind of the surprise team last year that everybody looked at and was like, okay, they might have figured something out with this roster. Like, SGA's taking yet another step. Chet was really good. Lou Dort was doing his thing. Like, we kind of saw it. And like Gabe said, too young last year. They weren't ready. Could still be the argument potentially. But, I mean, for a team that young with that little of experience to win 68 games, to get a 51-point win in game one of the first round of the playoffs, like, I know the I think actually the betting odds, the Thunder are the favorite, but I know a lot of people, Celtics, they won it last year. They're still really good. But I want the Thunder to win. Like, I know that's not going to be popular in the city of Memphis. But like, I'm a huge SGA fan. I've been a huge SGA fan for quite a while now, and it's like, kudos to them for building that roster, because it's a great roster, and it's a great team, and it's a fun team to watch.
I also want to go a little more big picture with this, because this was a team that the Grizzlies 3 years ago beat by 73. And I just want to make note of how much better Sam Presti is at his job than Zach Kleiman. Like, I think people need to like really pay attention to that.
Yeah, that's not unfair.
He drafts really well consistently. Doesn't miss on first round picks. Look at Jalen Williams. Look at Chet Holmgren. Does well with the second round picks. Go look at up and down the roster. But here's where he laps Zach Kleiman in a pretty substantial way. Free agent acquisitions and trades. They were knocked out of the playoffs last year because they weren't tough enough to deal with the Mavs. Right? General thought. They weren't tough enough. Chet Holmgren getting pushed around, and Daniel Gafford, Derek Lively eating, all that stuff. What did they do this offseason?
Yeah.
Sam Presti gets to the table and he says, okay, we have Lou Dort, like him. Let's lock him up. Give him $87 million. Oh, Isaiah Hartenstein's out there? Perfect. That's perfect center, screen setter. Let's get him out there. And then he pulls a back door by trading Josh Giddey to the Bulls and gets Alex Caruso in return.
Yeah.
And it's like, problem solved. I have yet to, and I hate to put it this way, but this is the truth. I've yet to see Zach Kleiman fix the first problem he had when he took over the Grizzlies. Wing of the future, 3-and-D, figure it out, jumbo wing, let's go. I've yet to see him fix that problem. Sam Presti fixed all his problems in a few off seasons.
Yep.
And Zach Kleiman's still sitting there with the same problems, man. And I'm not precluding like Vince Williams Jr. and G.G. Jackson, they could grow up before our eyes. But like the same problems that this team has had since Zach Kleiman has taken over are still seemingly there.
Yeah.
It's just sort of patched up by John Morant landing in his lap and Desmond Bane becoming a really good pick for him at number 30.
Yeah.
Or whatever, 20, whatever he was. So I don't know. I just wanted to point that out.
Well, and
people may still be on the Zach Kleiman bandwagon, although I see a lot of people jumping off pretty quickly. But I thought that was out front for me, having followed both of these teams since that time when the Grizzlies beat them 70 by 73 at FedEx Forum.
Well, it's not like we can sit here and pretend like that it's because this team Sam Presti's the GM of is some big market team that free agents want to come to.
Right, exactly.
This is Oklahoma City.
Similar circumstances.
Yeah, similar market.
Entirely similar marketplace, right? Like, so yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with you. I think Zach Kleiman is all in on Jalen Wells, Vince Williams, and Gigi Jackson having to be good. And if they aren't, there's a few times in your career where you stake your career on a decision. And at the trade deadline, when he chose to trade Jake LaRavia and Marcus Smart, salary dump Marcus Smart, he made the decision. And it could end up being the greatest decision he's ever made, or it could be the end of his career.
Yeah, I got to be honest. That'll be the end of his career. I believe in those guys, but I just think it is truly unfathomably stupid to risk your franchise on a 39th pick, a 45th pick, and a 47th pick.
Yeah,
I don't think
that would be so dumb. I hope he has
sense of urgency.
I hope he has his wits about him. As soon as Jaren Jackson Jr.'s pen touches paper this offseason, it's got to be present-minded. You can't be future, past, none of that. It's got to be present-minded. And if you have to trade a guy like Gigi Jackson to go get real veteran help that's ready to help you right now, go do that. You need something for the now. Stop waiting for things to pan out. I hate the wait till next year attitude.
Yeah.
Man, I'm so sick of it. It's like, and now when Jaren gets done, that means you'll have Desmond, Ja, and Jaren locked up for the foreseeable future.
Right.
So you have to make some tough decisions.
You got to go for it.
And sitting here and asking Grizzlies fans to hope and pray and wait for 22 and 23-year-old pups to mature, that's not the way you're going to keep us on your side. That's not the way you're going to get this franchise, quite frankly, to a championship. I fully believe that.
Well, and let's not we'll get off this topic real quick, but I mean, let's not also forget your big three, the guys that are taking up the majority of your salary cap, did not show up in that game, right? They have consistently been injured, consistently been out. The only person who has played enough games this year to even be eligible for postseason awards is Jaren Jackson Jr. Like, those guys have to grow up too, right?
Yeah.
Like, those guys have to become the big three that you're expecting them to be, and they clearly were not in that game one. Clearly. All right. Let's get to the broader topic of the NBA playoffs, guys. What games? I know we're in game 2 right now of some of these matchups. I think Detroit is actually beating New York in the fourth quarter right now.
If you watch the first game, that doesn't mean anything.
It doesn't mean much, right? But what games? What series have y'all been the most intrigued by? What matchup do you think is? I think we talked about this last week. Are there any upsets brewing in this first round?
No, but I think the most intriguing, and we saw it in game 1, Clippers Nuggets is going to be a really fun, competitive, awesome series. I mean, you have Nikola Jokic, multiple time MVP, could be the MVP again this year if it wasn't for voter fatigue, a triple-double average this season, and didn't even know about it as a center. And then on the other side, you have Kawhi coming back. You have kind of this weird team that is seeming to work now with James Harden, and Zubac has been playing incredible down the stretch, played great in game 1. I think he had like 21 and 14. And it was just a fun game. It went overtime. We got to see every roller coaster of Russell Westbrook. Like we got to see Russell Westbrook's entire career happen in like 5 minutes when it was literally good Russ that everybody loves.
Nails a 3 to put them up.
Yeah.
Well, final possession, bungles it, almost lets the Clippers win, and then in overtime he took over and played pretty well.
Yeah.
It's like that's him to a T. And by the way, he's one of the few guys where it's like, okay, he had 15, but he had it on 5 for 17 shooting, and I sit back and I'm like, he had a good game. Really good game for Russ. Beautiful. Great impact.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a really fun series. I mean, there's a lot of legendary players in that game. Like with Harden, Russ, Jokic, Kawhi, like that's a lot of guys that aren't at the forefront like they were a few years ago outside of Jokic for the most part. And that's mainly because Kawhi has been injured. But I think it's that Clippers team, a lot of people have been circling and saying once they get healthy, like, watch out.
Sure.
Like they can be really nasty once they get healthy. And they look like a really good team. the Nuggets, like you have to give the Nuggets a lot of credit.
I've
Like,
circled the Nuggets, guys. That's my team that I think could really surprise some folks.
yeah, because I mean, I think a lot of people are counting them out because they just
Yeah.
fired Michael Malone. There's a lot of disarray in that organization right now. What's going to happen? How do they manage this? But when you have a nucleus of a team that's been together for that long with Jamal Murray and MPJ and Aaron Gordon, like those guys know how to play together, regardless of who is coaching them. So I'm with you. Like I think the Nuggets win that series. I think it's going to be a dogfight. I think I don't see any way it doesn't go to 6 or 7. I think it is going to be a tough fight for them, but that's why those 4 and 5 matchups are so fun. But also like a lot of those teams come out of those matchups give people a lot of trouble because they had the most difficult matchup in the first round.
Yeah, and the other thing about the Nuggets, and I'll just put it simpler than you did. You talked about the core. If you have Nikola Jokic, you're in any game that you could possibly play.
That's fair. That's fair.
He can adjust like a coach. I don't know if you saw him at the end of the season when they were trying to get themselves into this position to get a top 4 seed. David Adelman took over as the interim head coach. Nikola Jokic was drawing up plays.
Oh, yeah.
He was the one who was huddling them all the time. Like, he really is so much better than we even think because of how well he can adjust and play the chess match within a series like this. And we've seen that time and time again in his career. And the other thing about that game in particular, I love games where I look back and I can't really point out one particular thing why one team lost and the other team won. Right? It was that contested. Like, it was really just that well played on both sides where I can't just point to, oh, well, Norman Powell, he went 0 for 7 from 3.
Right.
Kawhi didn't give you what he needed. Like, everybody on both teams gave everything that they realistically could have. There was no real bad performances. I mean, I guess you could point out on Denver side, Michael Porter Jr. was bad, but at the same time, they're on the winning team. Like, I just look back at that game. It was just so well contested that I don't have any other reason that the Clippers lost besides, hey, the Nuggets just played timely defense and hit timely shots. That's about it. But
can I ask y'all a question real quick?
Yeah.
To kind of wrap up this overall conversation. I don't care about talking about the East at all. Like, what I'll wake up in the next round in the East. Like, to me, it's trash.
Well,
like,
I only have one thing that I was going to point out from the East, and it has to do with the 1-8 game. Cavs 121-100. The Cavs ended up beating the Heat.
Yeah.
Did y'all, like, the Heat have a bad issue on their hands?
Yeah.
Did you see their all-star get absolutely from 7 minutes and 40 seconds in the third quarter until zero's on the clock? He got picked on and ate alive by anybody who played guard or in the backcourt for the Cavs. Darius Garland ate him alive. Max Strus ate him alive. They were taking turns. It was horrible. Ty Jerome went off on him at the end of that game.
Yeah.
The Heat have a serious issue. If that's going to be the guy they like hang their hat on, this is our all-star, you're cooked.
Yeah.
Because he cannot play any defense.
Yeah.
Like, we talk about Luka and Ja and Trae Young. Like, I put Tyler Hero in the Trae Young category of can't play defense. Doesn't try and sucks.
I don't disagree with that. But yeah, the East is rough. The West, though, we do have two lower seeds that took game ones. The 2 and 7 matchup between the Rockets and the Warriors, and the 3 and 6 matchup between the Timberwolves and the Lakers. I think that Timberwolves Lakers series is probably my 1B for the funnest series of the first round. I think that's going to be highly competitive.
Yeah. I took the Timberwolves though.
Yeah, I agree with that. Just because I think Chris Finch is a good coach. I think he's gotten that roster figured out to a sense, did the things that he needed to do to maximize Rudy Gobert, to get some of the other bigs off of that team. Cat, just knowing that it wasn't going to work, Naz Reid, Cat, and Rudy Gobert, and I think they're a really good team. Rockets Warriors, on the other hand, I'm not sure. Is it the case of this team just they're not ready? Like, they are so young but so talented, and they just got an unlucky matchup against Steph and Draymond and Jimmy Butler and guys that have done this, like, could do the playoffs in their sleep. Like, these are guys that have been there, done that every single year of their career for the most part. I don't know. I think it could be a fun series. I think the Rockets could get a couple. It's hard to see them beating the Warriors though, just because of what they've done.
I could see them handle business. The only reason I say is because game one, if you watched it, the Rockets played the defense they wanted to play. It was
They did.
85. This was throwback 90s basketball.
They
But
just didn't get
the only issue is Jalen Green was 3 for 15, and Fred VanVleet was
had 10
4
points.
for 19.
And he had 10 points. Yeah, like it.
Like there's some good news there though. Like there's some silver linings for the Rockets to be like, we're not going to shoot that bad again.
Yeah, I agree. With that
play
also.
this level of defense, and these officials let us play like this. We can come back and win this series.
And I'm in Thompson only having 8 points, and a lot of people have expected this to be like his welcome to the national stage of the NBA moment, and hasn't had that yet. So I'm kind of with you. I could see that one going either way. But I think
let me say this. I think that Warriors Rockets series is the exact reason, and not to bring it back to the Grizzlies, why I wanted the Grizzlies in the playoffs instead of sitting with the 14th pick, because the Rockets are crazy talented, but they looked wide-eyed, like holy hell, right?
Yeah.
Like, and it wasn't. I mean, Steph played an amazing game, but it was the physicality and the intensity that Draymond Green and Jimmy Butler played with in that first game, that it felt like Houston wasn't prepared for.
Yeah,
they weren't ready for that.
I think there were two guys that were ready to go on that Rockets roster. Steven Adams and Alperen Sengun were ready to roll. Both of them had good games.
That's because guys like Steph and Jimmy and Draymond, they know when the calendar turns April, they do this.
Yes.
And the Rockets just hadn't had to do that yet. Jalen Green, Sengun, Amin Thompson, Fred VanVleet's obviously been there, done that, won a championship.
Shout out to Sengun for giving me my favorite poster ever. Directly on Draymond's head.
Yeah.
First
and Draymond can't avoid that one. That one's a poster.
No, but
Amin Thompson, talent wise, might be one of the scariest young guys in the entire league. Like
100.
that dude is filthy.
Yes.
But again, it was like this the whole time.
Just not ready.
Just not ready for it.
I think they'll have to grow up very quickly to win that series. So I think that one's fun. And then we'll talk, if y'all want to talk Lakers Timberwolves a little bit, and then we'll move on and close the show out. I think it's going to be really fun. I love Anthony Edwards. He is so much
wild
fun.
Dude, man.
He is. He does not. He's just one of those kind of throwback dudes that just don't care. Like, he does not care what anybody thinks. He's not trying to win popularity contests. Like, he's coming out and saying, I don't care about playing against LeBron James. Like, I want to go at LeBron. Like, if I get the dunk on LeBron, score 30 on LeBron, like that's what I'm here for. And it's not that he doesn't respect those guys, but he holds himself in the same regard as the best players in the NBA. So I think that's a fun series. I'm with Gabe. I think Minnesota probably takes that one.
You know, it took 3 years or 2 years, whatever it was. Chris Finch finally realized something, though. When you have a playoff basketball in your hands, let's sub out Rudy Gobert and put in Naz Reid. I think that's a very obvious switch that he's needed to make for a long time.
Yeah, and if they're going to win that
series, trying to pick on Rudy Gobert, it's easy. You have the guy behind him, who's quite frankly all around a better player than Rudy Gobert. Rudy's a great defensive player. He can get you, deal with things at the rim and all that, but Naz Reid gives you a little more switchability, even though he's not great at it. He can knock down a three. He can play offensive basketball. He can put the ball on the ground.
Underrated.
If he needs to, he can protect the rim to a certain extent. I don't know. Like, he finally pulled that string, played him 30 minutes and Rudy 24, and here's Naz Reid with 22, 8, and 5, or whatever the hell is that line was last night.
Naz Reid
you win by 22.
Yeah.
All right. Let's get to topic number 3 and then close this thing out. Guys, it is, as Christian said, one of the more fun weeks of the year. And that's in 2 days, the NFL draft happens. Guys, I love this last week before the NFL draft happens because obviously you get inundated with mock drafts and all the insider reports and all those kinds
everywhere.
Of things. Everything. What is happening? What teams are going to make moves? What are y'all hearing? Like, what moves are you hearing out there that you think is going to work out well for a team? Like, do we know who's going to be picked top 4, top 5? Like, do we know what that roster, what that's going to be? What do you think?
I think we got a good idea. And this draft has already set the record for being the closest to the draft with no first round trades. And I think that kind of tells you everything you need to know about the way that scouts really view this draft. And what I've heard from, reading and listening to different things is you have about 5 to 7 what they call blue chippers, elite level players. And past that, from like 10 to 45, everybody's like this. Everybody's pretty much in the same category. Wow. Which is pretty rare, because usually that lasts until about 22, 23. Usually once you get towards the back end of the first round, that's when you go, okay, the next 25 players or so are in the same tier.
Yeah.
And a lot of the people around the league are saying from about 10 to 45 to 50 range, those players are all in the same tier. It's a massive tier. So I don't think we'll see as much movement. I don't think we'll see as many trades. I don't think people like these quarterbacks outside of Cam Ward as much as people have made us think. I don't know if I see another quarterback going in the top 10, maybe even the top 15. I've heard talk about a team trying to –
Really?
Yeah, I've
the
heard –
the Derek Carr Saints thing just has thrown a weird
that has
wrinkle into
that's
like maybe Shador there.
Right.
But I don't know if I fully buy it, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah. And so I think the top of the draft, everybody kind of knows what's coming to an extent. Like Cam Ward is going 1 to the Titans. That's pretty much been set in stone. At 2, Abdul Carter starting to get some steam. Now it really sounds like Travis Hunter is going to be the guy for Cleveland at 2. Andrew Berry is like in love with Travis Hunter, wants him to play wide receiver, which I've been clamoring for a long time. I hope he goes somewhere where he plays wide receiver first. And
did his video not freak you out? Did his video
still play defense? Still play defense.
Yes,
still
mix in on defense, but I think he needs to be a receiver first. And I think him and Judy could be a good receiver combo. I think Cleveland could move up and take Jackson Dart or Shador Sanders if they fall further in the first round.
His pro day footage didn't freak you out? His route running?
No, not at all.
It was just weird. It was just strange. He did like a bunch of footwork on like a 5-yard in. You're like, you don't need to do that. I know you're not going to do that normally, but you're trying to show off, and it just looked strange.
Yeah. So I think the top 3 is locked. I think the Giants take Abdul Carter at 3, and so our first 3 picks are pretty much locked. And then after that, we'll see what New England does. Do they want to take a Mason Graham type player? Do they want to take an offensive lineman there? So I think that's where you always hear that quote. This is where the draft really starts.
Yes, that's where it starts.
At 4 is kind of where the draft will actually start, and then we might see some interesting stuff from there. But this isn't a super top heavy class. I think from what I've read, like what most people feel like is the value will be in the 2nd and 3rd and maybe even the 4th round in this draft. First round, you're kind of looking at your own big board and saying, this guy might be tabbed as a early second round pick, but he is at this spot on our board, so we're taking him here because that's such a big tier.
Yeah. I don't know who are your guys, because I let me go ahead and list mine real quick. I have 4 guys where it's like every year I come into the draft and I just think to these teams like, you're not going to get the value of that first round pick unless you take one of the, like, these guys just can't miss. Like, they're going to be good at the next level. Tyler Warren from Penn State at tight end.
Yes.
Jahad Gamble from Alabama. I cannot get enough of. Like, that guy, he's sort of in the late teens is where I see him picked. And it's like, you're getting immediately one of the best linebackers, one of the best defense players in the league, in my opinion. He can come off the edge. He's great sideline to sideline. He can cover. He can do all of it. Then you have Tyler Booker. I know you're high on him as well at guard. I know that like the guard, it's not a value position, but it never misses. It just never misses. And to me, like my other one, I have to give it up to Kelvin Banks Jr. from Texas. I don't think he's going to be like, we'll see. I think he could grow into being like that Pro Bowl, all pro caliber guy. But I think you get a 10-year starter immediately at the tackle position if you bring him in.
I think
even more so than a guy like Will Campbell, and I like Will Campbell.
Yeah, I like Will Campbell a little bit better, but I think they're both going to be really good. Ashton Genty is the number 1 can't miss to me. Like, he's just a plug-and-play Pro Bowler player. It doesn't matter where he goes. It doesn't matter if it's Vegas at 6 or Chicago at 10 or anywhere else. Wherever he goes, as long as they give him the ball, he's probably going to be a Pro Bowler.
I tend to – okay, I think he's going to be good. My only pushback on the whole thing, on the whole Ashton Jeanty thing, and this is going to sound like fingernails on a chalkboard to some people. I don't think he is that much ahead of the other running back prospects.
No, I think they're really good too.
Whether it be Omarion Hampton or
Travion
Henderson, Quinshon Judkins. I don't think like he's listed as like as high as a 6th overall pick, and then you have Omarion Hampton as like a early 2nd or late 1st. I don't think he's that much better on tape than those guys. He's got big runs.
Yeah.
But like also he's been used a lot at the at the college level. I don't know. I'm not trying to hate on Ashton Jeanty. He's a great player.
So I would go him. You went Tyler Warren, so I'll go Colston Loveland. I think they're both elite tight end prospects. I think they'll both be very good immediately. And then I got to go Tyler Booker too, just because he's one of my Tyler Booker's one of my favorites. Not to have some overlap there, and then I will go Travion Henderson. I've listened to scouts talk about him. A lot of them say that they cannot remember a better running back in pass pro. And you talk about getting on the field early, being a day one starter at running back. You can have all the vision, you can have great hands, but if you are not good in pass pro, you will not play in the NFL, especially as a 3-down back. And I think Travion Henderson's a great pass blocker, great in pass protection, and I think he's going to surprise a lot of people because he's probably going to go early to mid in the 2nd round. And I mean, ceiling wise, he can be right there with Ashton Jeanty, Omarion Hampton. He's a great prospect. He can hit the home run, he can catch the ball, he can block. And you're saying with Ashton Jeanty having a lot of tread on the tires, Travion Henderson does not, because Ohio State has kept him clean and rotated him out throughout his career.
And then I have 2 all what the fuck are we doing picks that are going to be 1st rounders. Jalen Walker from Georgia and Shamar Stewart from Texas A&M. Don't get it.
How many sacks?
So many times I'm like, what are we doing here?
How many sacks does Shamar Stewart have in his career? Like 3.5?
I think 3 or 4.5, something like that. And then like Jalen Walker had 3 in one game and then never really showed up again. I think was it the Texas game?
Yeah, it's the traits, man. They're the trait players.
Well, but they list Jalen Walker as an edge, right? Like, and he's supposed to be like off-ball linebacker, edge, hybrid, whatever. Well, he's not an off-ball linebacker because he sure as hell ain't covering a soul.
No.
And he's not going to be some sideline-to-sideline guy, so he's going to be an edge. He's 6'2", 240.
Yeah.
What? Like, how does – they outthink themselves every year. And then Shamar Stewart, I get why he's a combine freak.
Yeah.
But he does nothing on film.
But wouldn't you take Nick Scourton over Shamar Stewart?
Absolutely. I'd take anybody with some relative amount of production who didn't just completely pee down their legs in the combine. I'd take him over Shamar Stewart.
Yep. Agree. All right, boys. Well, let's wrap it up. We appreciate you guys for joining us this week. If you're watching on YouTube, you can like, subscribe, and comment there. If you're listening via podcast, whether that's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, any other podcast platform, you can do all the same things there. You can also go to the site at bluffcitymedia.co. Check out.
Not anymore. The site is no longer for right now. The site is no longer
under construction.
Didn't get that info. So
I think it was in the group text, but maybe you didn't.
Maybe I missed it.
You need to read your emails.
Yeah,
it was in the company-wide memo.
So don't go to the site. Subscribe on YouTube. That's going to be the big pitch for this week. But once again, we appreciate you guys for joining us, and we will see you back here next week.
Thank you for listening to On the Bluff. If you enjoyed this episode, leave a rating and a review wherever you download your podcasts. Also, like and subscribe to Bluff City Media's YouTube page. Head over to www.bluffcitymedia.co for comprehensive coverage of Memphis sports and how you can become an insider.